Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to another sketchbook tour. I know it's been a while since the last one, but the thought of doing these fills me with a very specific kind of terror. So I tend to just avoid them and put them off for as long as physically possible. So let's just dive in. I'm so bad at presenting these. This is a sketchbook that was started in March 2019 and finished sometime in February 2020. I can't remember the exact date. But like all Josh Munger sketchbooks, there is slight breaks in between when I get involved in doing something else. This is more of an idea development sketchbook than a drawing practice sketchbook, but there is some drawing practice in it later on. But like quite a lot of my sketchbooks, they tend to have aspects of both. I try my hardest to try and keep them separate so I could focus more on my drawing practice, but it never really happens. So yeah, first we have the cover. I always try and do a little list once I'm finished on the outside cover of what's inside the sketchbook, because it always makes it a little bit easier when you're looking back trying to find things. So you can kind of see here what you're going to get. And then these are just memes that I found online that I liked. I was like, something that's going to give me a bit of a laugh before I get down to work. So this is a sea white sketchbook. The paper in these is great. It's great for what I need because I use a lot of ink, I use a lot of watercolour, sometimes I use a bit of acrylic. And the paper's quite heavy duty. It's 140 GSM, which is good. And I like the texture to it. It has a little bit of a tooth tip, which I quite enjoy. So yeah, first things first, the first page of a sketchbook is always difficult to, it's scary, it's intimidating. Anybody who keeps sketchbooks knows that. So the trick is to try and just get the first page filled as quickly as possible. This was actually some ink and practice from a new pen that I had bought. It's a Fude nib pen. So I was just practicing with that, doing some simple faces and things to get a feel for the line quality and the use of the pen and things. And pens take a little bit of time to bed in sometimes, especially metal nib pens. And this is some research for some Scottish masks that I had seen online. I think this was for a project or something I was working on at some point, but I don't think the project ever actually went anywhere, and I've forgotten what it was for. It's highly possible that I just saw something online and thought it was interesting, so did some research and did some sketching and things. The Ballachulish figure has been back in the news recently though, and I keep meaning to go and have a little read about what's happened. There's a talk going on about it, I think. So I might have a little investigate and see what's been happening with it. So this here's some character development work on it's quite a routine exercise. You draw simple shapes and try and build characters around the simple shapes. So these are quite obviously two triangles. This one up here I think was just a rectangle, and then this one's probably a circle, and then you just build little characters off the back of that. I think this is obviously some sort of chubby lumberjack who rescued a kitten. This is clearly some technology man who's maybe playing a lot of Crash Bandicoot at the time, because he looks very like Crash Bandicoot Cortex and Nitro-esque. This one here is like a kind of turned into a strange golem kind of character, and this is a little bunny rabbit with a sword and shield. I feel like I was probably playing Hollow Knight a lot at the time when this was done. And then I really liked the idea of the golem, so I kind of decided to expand a little bit on that. So here's just a larger drawing with some watercolour and some ink practice. If you follow along, you know that my inking skills are not the best, and it stresses me out no end. So this is probably just some practice. This was probably done with brush pen or just even a brush in India ink with some watercolour over it. I like the idea of these golems being like chiselled out of one piece of stone, and they just kind of float, and I thought they maybe had some sort of crystals or something, and that was how they got their power and got their life, their animus. And then this is when I really started getting into these kind of strange mandalas, which have changed over time. This is, I think, the first kind of really one that I had done. And I decided to just take them from things that I was looking at and little, images. There's some clouds and some rain, some electricity, plugs, switches and skulls and things. And I was doing these as kind of like warm-ups for a little bit. You can see that I have a terrible sense of what is straight up and down the page, and I don't tend to use guidelines for them, which is why they always end up all over the place. Some of the lines in here are terrible. But this was like a warm-up exercise I did for a little while. And so there's this one. And then this one as well. This one has kind of like more of an insect feel to it, I think, to me. I think these kind of look a bit like legs. This is maybe a continuation of the Hollow Knight as well. To be fair, I probably was playing a lot of Hollow Knight around about again. And then this is one that I did when I was in a Wetherspoons off Hope Street in Glasgow. It was dated here 14th of the 3rd, 2019. And I think I started thinking about potentially I could be doing them in places rather than doing location sketching, because I sometimes find location sketching to be a bit boring. And instead of just kind of sketching what I see, which I know I can dependably do, I always try and like look around at the different kind of things in the area and pull them together. So this was an attempt at that. I wouldn't really say it's particularly too successful, to be fair. But I think I had somewhere to be after this. I think this only really was, I think, a 5-minute job or something. And then this is again building on from that idea, but probably after reading Salem's Lot or watching Salem's Lot. I watched the Salem's Lot TV movie more than I'm comfortable admitting. I think I had definitely watched it again, because there's things in here that aren't in the book. It's like the holy water at the bottom that glows and things. So that was definitely something that I had done after reading it, and then I think I definitely took it and photocopied it, because I then did a little bit of a watercolour and ink filling on it. This is just a Thai photocopy that's obviously seen better days. It was wedged in a page here, and it's obviously not handled being wet particularly well. But again, this is just things I do when I'm playing, experimenting with things. And then we move on to wreaths, and kind of flower crowns, but not in a white girl wasted kind of a way. I do a lot of text-based art in my work, because I like the idea of throwaway phrases and simple things that we say, which can be part of a larger meaning or have a larger meaning. So I was thinking about how anything you see with a wreath around it instantly looks more important. So I did these grease paper wreaths so that I could play with putting them over text and things when I was monoprinting them. And we'll see more of that later on in the sketchbook. And here's just some kind of research into wreaths that I've done. It's probably copied from a website, and then I've made some notes over the top of it. If you're really interested, you can pause the video and have a read at how wild my mind is. And then this is an acrylic wash and a little bit of an acrylic kind of paint drawn over the top of it. This was an idea I had for a series of portraits I was thinking about doing at the time, of people who had come to visit me while I was in hospital. So this was kind of like an idea of what it would look like. These are from swatches. I mixed these from swatches of the actual paint colours that were on the ward I was in. This one's called Ginger Spice, which I always thought was really funny. And then we come back and we have another look at text and putting things within laurel wreaths, and then I started thinking about shapes and things. This reminded me of the Leviathan cross, so there's a little bit of information about that there. And then this is some drawing that I did while I was on holiday, and trigger warning because there are some slurs on the next couple of pages. I then started thinking, what if we put laurel wreaths around slurs? I'm really interested in the thought of reclaiming slurs, I always kind of, until maybe quite recently, balked at the thought of using the word queer to describe somebody, because I've always felt like queer was a slur, but I know that there's a lot of people who prefer that descriptor, which I think is fine. It's not for me to tell people what they should and shouldn't call themselves. And over time I've kind of, as the word queer has become more socially acceptable, I've kind of settled it too. So I thought, what, are there any other phrases that we might like to reclaim? Do we want to reclaim bum boy, or some of these other ones which I'm not going to say out loud because they will be immediately reported, because YouTube is always listening. This is just some more random character development stuff. This was like a really bad quick sketch I did. I was drawing the pumpkin witch from Medieval for a friend. So I did just a little thing that's really, really bad. It's terrible. The final one I think ended up a lot better than that. And this is just some more kind of stuff, some sort of ram god and some bat creatures and things here. These pages tend to be if I'm sitting watching TV of an evening and I need something to keep my hands busy while I'm doing it, so I don't get too distracted. So I tend to just sketch randomly. I think I was having a conversation with my brother when I drew that, because we were talking about the old how to draw manga tutorials, which were online all the time. I used to print off in the library in high school and bring home in little Polly Pockets and study of an evening. I don't know if any of it paid off. And then we get back to the laurel wreaths and things, and again, just what are some of the words that, we can maybe see ourselves reclaiming over time, or potentially not. And I thought, would we ever get to a point where we would have these phrases on items of clothing, and what would it look like if we did? So there's some more practice things here as well. This is like a gold enamel paint, which is really, really nice to use, because if you can get it thin enough, it always has quite a nice matte finish that you can actually draw over. But it ruins your brushes because it's an enamel, so I don't recommend doing it very often or with expensive brushes. And then this is just some more watercolour practice. I think I scanned these at some point and put text over them somewhere, similar to the gold circle on the page before. So that's probably in a JPEG folder somewhere on my computer. And then back into more some character design stuff, because where would I be if I wasn't doing character design stuff for projects that inevitably don't go anywhere? So this is some kind of ideation for some sketches I thought about doing for Halloween a couple of years ago, and I eventually settled on Devil Daddy. But my original thought was potentially doing a mummy, a devil, or a witch, or potentially even all three, but I routinely overestimate exactly how much time I have to do things, because I'm always busier than I think I am. I really do like this though, and it's something I would think I would maybe like to try again. So I'm recording this before Halloween this year, so there's a chance it might happen for this year. We'll wait and see. And then this is when we get on to some of my research for the Full Picture project, which was a research project that I took for Creative Dundee to assess some of the barriers towards creatives in the city accessing work during the COVID pandemic. So this is just some thoughts and things. And then I decided to do a huge 2 metre by 1 metre ink drawing of the subjects that my research was bringing up. So the next couple of pages are me before I started on the final piece. This is me kind of thinking about things that had come up in conversations with other creatives in the city. And I then moved on to kind of thinking about what the style and the finished piece would look at. So I tried, a bit of a freer, messier style. I knew that I wanted kind of two characters to be separated by the 2 metres of the piece, because that was the social distancing requirement at the time. So it was kind of symbolic of that in a sense. And then I started realising I really preferred my tighter, thinner line work than this kind of thicker stuff. The thicker stuff's nice, it's got a really good expressive quality to it, and it looks really free and things. But I kind of wanted people who were looking at the finished piece to feel like we were overwhelmed almost by everything that was coming between people because of the pandemic. And I felt like the smaller, tighter line work would allow me, number one, to fit more things in, but also would give me that avalanche almost kind of effect I was looking for. So yeah, there's aspects of text. There's 44 for instead of forever. This is a text. This is larger on a later page, but this is a text from Universal Credit, written in text speak, because I think the DWP would do anything to save themselves some time and some money at the moment. And then I thought, maybe I could do a series of mandalas instead of one larger drawing, and what would they look like? This is the Universal Credit page here. Universal Credit, I've texted someone saying, I'll maybe pay you in 6 months, babes, okay? And then you've texted them back saying, why though? And then they've left you on red. Because the government doesn't care about people at the minute, it seems. This is actually one of my favourite things that did actually make it into the final piece, which was, a lot of people were spending more and more time online when the pandemic was really at its height. And I was interested in how the algorithm was potentially sending people down some dangerous paths, and I just really love writing uwu, ironically, because it really makes me laugh. So if you liked cute cats being cute uwu, you might like radicalising content. This is just a nothing page. And then once that was done, we immediately leapt into the Beastie-ary project, which was a series of 30 drawings that I did over the month of November. I did one digital ink drawing every day, and they were all based on beasties, which are traditionally insects but can also mean goblins and creatures and things, in Scottish mythology. So the full series is available online. You can go and have a look. But this is thumbnails of me trying to work out exactly what each page was going to look like. I'm really surprised that I let myself do this in blue biro, because normally I hate writing or drawing in blue biro, but it must have been the only pen to hand that day. I really liked that. That is what the final look of the red cap ended up actually looking like, but I just really loved that drawing, and it came quite easily that day, so I was happy with that. And then I obviously binned the blue pen and went back to my traditional pencil and black. And there are some characters. This is a Selkie and that's a Falcon. That's the Bather, I think. So there are some, things where I was trying things out and experimenting with things and practicing, thinking what these things would look like in practice for their ink drawings. I wanted it to seem almost like somebody had compiled a book of all these magical creatures that they had found when they were out on their travels in Scotland. And this is just some random stuff, I think. And this is like a Mothman, or my idea of the Mothman, if he was kind of a hipster sad boy. And then that's probably just a hipster sad boy. I can't remember what prompted this drawing, but I do really like it. I think there's a nice quality to it. This one, I think. And this kind of like intricate work over here with the petals and the stamens and things is not something that I traditionally do, but I remember really enjoying doing it here. And this is Naomi Nagata from The Expanse. The series of that must have been airing at the time. You can tell what's on TV or what I've been doing. You can tell what's on TV or what I've been doing with my life by judging what's in my sketchbook at the time. And then we just have some life drawing practice. I think these are just from free classes that I was doing online at the time. Because it's nice to brush the old life drawing muscles off every once in a while and give them a little practice. It's something I always really, really enjoyed it when we did it at university. And it's difficult to find models and to have time to go to a class as well, but it's something I really think I need to focus more on, because I do really enjoy it and always have fun with a good life drawing session. This is again, more TV related content, but I had rewatched the Chernobyl series because I found the Chernobyl accident strangely fascinating. I'm slightly borderline obsessed about it. I read timelines and everything about it. It really annoys me that there's not an in-depth Chernobyl podcast, because that would be my comfort listen when I was going to sleep at night. But there are stories of before the accident there was a big demonic creature called the Blackbird of Chernobyl, which was sighted above the power plant, possibly a harbinger of doom, potentially. So I like the idea of that. And then this is just a little sketch of someone from the show, an unnamed character, with their bits and bobs on while they're taking some Geiger counter readings. This is a really loose page related to the prints I did of places in Whitfield, the place in Dundee where I live, that have closed down and been demolished and replaced with other things. So I was just looking at photographs and out places, having a look and doing some sketches of the buildings and things and how the forms were going to relate to one another and everything. This is kind of sometimes how the inside of my brain works when I'm composing things. And this is just some portrait practice. This was for a commission I was working on at the time, and I thought I would be more helpful to do a little pencil study before launching into the final painting. And this is Janet Gurley, somebody that I found out about online. She was a Dundonian potential lesbian archaeologist, which really just is everything I wish I was in life. So I did some research and some reading about Janet because I found her interesting. This is again just some sketching stuff, and then this is some ideation for a portrait I was thinking about working on, specifically about weight gain during the pandemic, because like a lot of people I put on a fair bit of weight during the pandemic, and it affected my self-confidence so much I stopped looking in the mirror, which is the second time in my life that I've been so upset with how I looked that I stopped looking in the mirror. The first time obviously being when I was going through chemotherapy, and I thought, it's like I've lost my face again. And then I thought, it's the second time I've lost my face. So I thought about doing some sort of portrait of myself without my face twice. Which sounds crazy but makes sense in my stilted little mind. So I was kind of thinking, what would it look like to have lost your face? So this was me trying out different things, even though some of them do look a little bit like puckered anuses. And this is again some more if I was to maybe do it and it was a wee bit more realistic almost. So this is based on 2 photographs of me that actually exist. This is for a zine that I submitted to that my friend Katie was doing. She did a zine in quarantine called Quarantine Zine, and then went to release one called Quarantine Zine 1 year on. So this was the little comic that I did for that. I think I've released it on my website, so you can have a look at that if you like. And then this is just some more character practice. These are all drawings done from photographs with a dip pen, and this is some more stuff. This is Tilda Swinton from a zombie movie she was in with Adam Driver. I can't remember the name. I think it's called Only the Dead Are Still Alive or something, but she played a very strange character in it, and she had a quote, "I'm more than confident in my ability to handle the undead," which I thought was really funny. It's nice to see Scottish people on TV. Again, here's some more character stuff. This is clearly when I was playing Hades. And this is just some more ideas of things. I had kind of thought that the segments on this kind of looked like some sort of weird necklace, so then I kind of thought what kind of, bald priestess would be wearing a necklace made of centipede segments. And then this is just some daft characters. And this is another one of my mandalas. I really liked this one. I think what I was thinking for this was kind of like what little boys and little girls are made of, so sugar and spice and everything nice, and slugs and snails and puppy dogs' tails. So there's a kind of like a mix of like butterflies and things, along with some creepier things and a bat creature. And then this is some preparatory work for another illustration that I have posted online about the time when I was at home from the hospital for a little break in between chemotherapy and was snoring so loudly while having sleep paralysis that I thought there was a demon in my bed behind me. And I was convinced it was like lying in the bed behind me with its arm around my throat. And I think it's funny. I think it says a lot about me that psychologically my mind immediately went to demon and not you're lying in a strange position and snoring. So I think that says quite a lot about me. So I did a funny illustration about it. And so that's some ideas before that. And then again, some more character design stuff, just strange little people doing strange little time things. This is probably done thinking about Halloween and Halloween costumes and things. I actually think I was potentially watching the Buffy Halloween episode when I was doing this, because I think this guy's based on one of the kids that turned into a demon in the Halloween episode in season 2. And again, just another kind of character idea I came up with. And then this was a little sketch that I sent out to everybody who bought a copy of the Beastie-ary when I published it on my website, as a zine for people to buy. So I sent them a little drawing out with them. And then this is some more ideas for the series of prints I did about places around Dundee. So this is a pub close to my house that me and my family used to go to quite a lot that's now closed down. And I really like this idea of like dark and stormy skies and things. So I was thinking about how to kind of to capture that, and then that was what this is just a tacky print of the final piece. But I really like that kind of dark windy sky, meaning everyone's become unmoored and unhinged and separate from the past, because all these places that have been really instrumental in people's lives when they've been growing up in Dundee are closing down and getting replaced with other things. And then the back cover is again just a repeat of that. So thank you very much for coming with me once again and bearing with me while I mumble my way through another sketchbook tour. I'm trying very, very hard to get over my conviction that the world will end and I will drop dead through doing these. So I have some other cool sketchbooks that I might film tours for in the future. So yeah, thank you very much for your support. I hope you enjoyed it. And let me know what you think. Thank you.